Okay. And let me also just change the settings so that will be no waiting room. People just can come. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. This is session 3 of the AI in Academia Faculty Learning Community. And I hope you are well since last time we met. And we are going to be talking about AI and academic research. So we have some neat tools we want to share with you today about how to do research using AI to assist in the process. And I hope you will find it as enjoyable as I have experimenting with them because it's just been very, very, I'd say, just exciting. I'd say that's probably the best word because I remember how research, process used to be, back in the day, and now with all this new technology, it just makes things a lot more efficient and hopefully it gets you to the work of doing the research as opposed to fumbling through sort of the process of trying to find things and learning how to use things. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to do a portion share so that oops, I'm going to move this over here. Okay, so hopefully, are you able to see my screen? Yeah. Okay, got it. All right, so just as a quick kind of review of things that we have covered thus far, the first session we focused a lot on sort of the explanation overview, and then we talked a lot about prompt engineering. I hope you've all had opportunities to practice how to do prompt engineering as you engage with these tools. I was just working with somebody recently about how prompt engineering is sort of really a new skill that everyone needs to know, and the better you're at doing it, the better results you'll get from these AI models. And then we also last session we talked about sort of the AI policy and assignment makeovers and content creation and other things that you can do with AI related to teaching effectiveness. And then today we're going to focus on sort of using these tools for academic research and design and literature review and data analysis. But I maybe just want to give everybody an opportunity just to put in chat, one or two things that you have done, either related to session 1 or session 2 that you want to share with others. I want to say you're proud of, but it doesn't have to be that great. Just something that you have been able to do in your own time since our last session. So if you can just put in the chat something you've been working on or learning about in terms of either things we've covered, or even, and if you want to, you can talk about things that we will do today. So just take maybe a minute or so to add that. This is a priming event, hoping to get some of your brains to start thinking about this topic as you transition from whatever, maybe a meeting or other things that you might be doing to talking about today. It used prompt to construct a script participants. Oh, I'm glad. Thanks, Rick. Liberate a couple presentation decks. Brianna, different presentation generators. Playing with Gamma. Elsa, thank you. Christina, prompts for different assignments. Brian, New quizzes with Quizbot. I'm glad you're trying that out. Lynn, Claude 2, research manuscript, and then see BJ, explore 3 levels as sign makeover. Okay, well, thank you. This is all great. I mean, it's exciting when any kind of learning community that actually applies what we're learning, it's always a good thing. And so I hope you continue to do that as we explore new things and new strategies, new tools that you will continue to find ways to apply them in your situation so that you get to actually practice what we've been talking about as opposed to just learning about it, sort of theoretical concepts. Okay, great. All right, so here are the questions that we'll try to answer during the session. And let's just dive right in. So last week I told you, well, last session I shared a study about how sort of what they call the jagged edges of AI technology, how some things it does very well and some things it does, and I'm trying to understand what that frontier is. Today, I'm going to actually share another study that talks about this idea of falling asleep at the wheel. This is a fairly recent study. I want to say it's like less than a month old, so it's a very, very recent study. And here's sort of the point here. It's clear that AI can help everyone complete more tasks quicker and with better results. Like we in that last session, we talked about the study that showed that in a conclusive way, that people who use AI were able to do more work, better work, and more accurate work. That is absolutely, I think, not in question in terms of certain tasks. However, today's study I'll talk about is saying that relying too much on AI's recommendation could lead to this effect of falling asleep at the wheel. This idea of, I mean, I guess it's a metaphor about, just you've gotten to a point where you're so comfortable using it that you just don't pay attention anymore and you sort of accept things at face value, and that's where it becomes problematic. So this study, I'll share the link out and everything after the session so you can read more about the actual study. So this came out of the Harvard Business School, and the title of the study was called Falling Asleep at the Wheel, Human AI Collaboration in a Field Experiment on HR Recruiters. So let me kind of share with you the study design. So they had 180 HR recruiters. So these were real recruiters hired to evaluate 44 resumes for a software engineering job. And these recruiters were divided up into sort of 4 groups. The first group were given sort of assistance with what they call this perfect AI, meaning that this AI has been trained so that whatever it gives, it's like accurate information. It doesn't hallucinate. It doesn't do anything kind of off. It does what it's supposed to do. The second group were given what they call a good AI, which was the accuracy rate we kind of went down a little bit. And then the third was the bad AI. So like this is where you have the ChatGPT on beast mode, as they call it, where it becomes like hallucination can happen at any time without any because it's trying to do everything and try to and so that's the bad. And then finally there's the group that had no AI usage. And here's what they found. Recruiters with good AI and bad AI, even though it's bad, still outperform those with no AI. Again, this confirms the other study that we looked at last session, that people using AI outperform those who didn't use AI. So this confirmed that piece. However, recruiters with the bad AI outperform those with the good AI, which is an interesting phenomenon, meaning those who had sort of the not so good AI that gave answers that were kind of funny or that didn't seem right, those who got those as they were evaluating their resume, they had to work harder. They had to exert more effort. That's sort of the finding here, is that because when it gave sort of almost really good answers or good enough answers, the recruiters just stopped thinking. They just like, okay, sounds good. let's hire this person. But when it didn't, the recommendation or the output didn't come out as cleanly or as neatly, then the recruiters actually had to exert more effort to to actually make a decision about whether or not this is a good candidate. Here are the sort of the key takeaways. So recruiters who use good AI became lazy, careless, and less skilled in their own judgment. They missed out on some brilliant applicants and made worse decisions than recruiters who use low quality AI or no AI at all. So when the AI is very good, humans have no reason to work hard and pay attention. This falling asleep at the wheel can hurt human learning, skills, development, and productivity. So let me kind of give everyone a chance to respond to this study. So what are your thoughts about the study? You can raise your hand and acknowledge it, and you can unmute, or you can put a comment in the chat, and then we can kind of. So what are your thoughts of the study?
I definitely think I agree with it. Just from my own experience, I don't take anything AI gives me for granted. I pretty much look at it every time it gives me something. I go, okay, but really, like, are you sure? Like, should I really trust this? And then because of that, sometimes I'll take it and I'll use it 90% to what they gave me. But then sometimes I'm like, that's an interesting idea. Let me take that and completely do something different with it. Like almost like inspiration, and then use it for like little pieces. But I'm always hesitant to use exactly what they give, just because I wonder also how many millions of people are they giving this exact answer to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say that if it's a really good program, you would have a tendency to get lazy. So
yeah. Okay, Janet, I think you had your hand up. You have to unmute, please.
Thank you. I'll speak to what I've seen happening in our classroom, because I require my students to use AI. And I also require certain dimensions in the prompts, which make the prompt very specific to what they're doing, who they are, their context. So they have to make like a big paragraph of act like, and then they describe themselves. And then they have to put a parameter of only use the information that I'm submitting or uploading, or that I ask you to find. Don't do any general search in your database. And then once they get the prompt really engineered, so they've really taught Claude to not generate its own content, it's responding to the work the student did. Then when they get the content generated back, they have to review it, check it for accuracy, and refine it and make improvements. So I found that in like a half an hour of the students in breakout sessions using that method, they like come back with these really great outputs. Then we put it in Gamma, and then they actually learn way more, because they're having, like you said, to actually do the work and think about what they're asking AI to do, rather than just, here's the prompt from the assignment, give me something. They actually have to teach. It's like being a teacher. They have to teach Claude.
Yeah.
So you learn more by being a teacher. Yeah. So, and that's and I love it, because then they have to put the prompt and the output as an appendix attachment in all their assignment submissions.
Thank you, Janet. Lynn? Yeah, have to unmute, please.
Sorry. Thank you. I was just two things I was curious, but my experience would be that I agree with some of the findings of the study, but I have a question in terms of what the N was. I don't know that we saw that, or do we know how many people were in it? And
there were 100. Yeah, that was 181 participants in their study. Yeah.
And where were they from?
So here, let me go back to the slide. The first slide.
Oh, yeah, I see. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 181 HR recruiters they were reviewing 44 resumes. Yes.
Yeah. So I would, generally speaking, in my own experience would be that, I would agree with that. And that's, I think, the falling asleep piece, I think, is problematic, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think, again, this is sort of the beginnings of this technology. And as more studies are being done about how this kind of tool is, or is what the limitations of these tools are, I think it would be a little more insightful or helpful for kind of us in education to kind of help our students understand, because this is sort of the future reality of not just the educational world, but the work world and sort of the world in general. And if we better understand the relationship or the limitations of AI, then hopefully we can be more effective. Like we can know in certain situations, like if this is a very high stakes thing, you can't rely on AI too much, because it's doing so actually will be like you will end up worse in terms of your judgment or your ability to get accurate answers. So anyway, so interesting study. I will, I come across these studies almost on a weekly basis, so I will keep looking for these, and then I will maybe bring up another study next time and we can talk. And if you have other studies you want to share, just forward that to me. Hopefully, as you kind of understand as your own experimentation, you also come to some sort of understanding about the limits or the possibilities, or where things can or cannot be used with this. That would hopefully guide your actions. Okay, so let me kind of now get to some of the more interesting tools. So in terms of the research process, literature review is just a foundational part of that research. I don't need to probably go over the basics of research process, but literature review is really a key part of how a lot of research projects work in terms of setting up the study, understanding what has been studied before and what are the key findings. And AI actually has a lot of really great tools to help you to do that. So my first tool I'm going to introduce is called Research Rabbit. And Research Rabbit is a new kind of search engine. You probably are familiar with a lot of library search engines that surfaces results of, like, you put in some keywords, it will surface some of the things that are related to that. This does something similar, but it adds a lot more dimensions to that. And instead of kind of me doing the actual demo, I'm just going to show a video that gives you an overview, and then afterwards maybe we can later after we show all these, we can, if we have time, we can talk about the actual process of going through. I have a personal example I can use to set up the actual demonstration, but we'll see if we have time. But let's see what this is about. Why isn't the video playing? Oh, that's hold on one second. I'm gonna have to reset my slides because the video didn't show up. Okay. You know what? For some reason, whenever I'm in the presentation mode, the video doesn't show up. But let me try a different way here. I'm gonna try to find it on YouTube, because this is where I had it embedded. Oh, it won't even allow me to. Something is. Yeah, so Tim, yeah, can you seem to, it's just stuck, huh? I might have to do a quick YouTube search on Research Rabbit. You know what? I think my browser is, I just got a new computer on Friday, so things are not working as expected. Tim, are you able to play on your side? You're muted.
No, I'm experiencing the same issue. I'll try to pull up the next video at least. But I'm kind of having the same issue.
Yeah, and well, maybe I might have to do the live demo as opposed to the the video, because the video kind of gave a good overview of how the tool works. Let me see here.
Well, I just logged in for the first time and it asked me to put in an article I like, and I did. And now it's already recommending me 100 and something, 162 similar articles that I'm going through titles. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would have been so useful 2 weeks ago.
I think my Chrome browser is crashing because I can't even do a new let me reset my browser. Sorry, I'm just running into a lot of technical difficulties this morning. All right, let's see.
Most people have no.
Well, who was that?
That's me. I'm trying. I was Mike. Maybe try to open up another browser, on your computer if you do have one.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Great.
Got it. So, it
Yeah, and like an incognito window,
yeah.
Chrome was working too. So.
Okay. Yeah, I had to basically shut down my Chrome and restart it. So now it seems to be working now.
Great.
All right. A lot of rebooting of stuff. It's like I rebooted my computer right before the session started.
Oh yeah, that looks a lot better.
All right, let me try to give you a better view of this. Okay, so
Rabbit, and in this demo, I'm going to show how
you able
Research
to hear
Rabbit
it?
is completely different from Google and reimagines discovery for knowledge. But first, here's Google. In Google, you start with a keyword and then get a list of results. You start scrolling down, opening up a bunch of links, and in terms of relevance, the items at the top are most relevant, and relevancy declines as you scroll down. You click next page and relevancy declines further. And sooner or later, you enter a new keyword and start all over again. At the end of this process, you have a bunch of tabs. They all look different. The data comes from a specific walled garden. Clicking on metadata opens more tabs, and you've gotten completely lost with all this stuff. By contrast, here's Research Rabbit. In Research Rabbit, you can start by entering keywords like Google, but also title, author, identifier, and RIS and BibTeX file formats, which researchers use. And now I'm going to show you what you can do after adding a single paper. Based on a single paper, you can see the author, year, title, abstract, all of the references and how they relate, all of the citations and how they relate, and similar papers that Research Rabbit has found. The graphs that emerge enable users to understand relationships amongst the content and is a really intuitive way to understand large amounts of information. These graphs are also interactive and can be viewed in different ways. For example, our timeline view is super helpful. Finally, these graphs can serve as jumping off points for additional discovery. If any of the papers look interesting, you can dive deeper and learn more. And let's say instead of a paper, you want to explore an author. We've activated that metadata as well. By selecting an author instead, you can pull all of that author's papers and see them along a timeline too. You can also visualize their collaboration network. Each of these dots is a person that Gulkhan Garip has authored with in the past. And as before, you can use the graph as a jumping off point. Finally, at the end of all this, let's say you found a paper that's absolutely perfect. You can simply drag and drop it into your collection. So that's the first amazing thing about Research Rabbit. You don't have to rely on keywords. You can explore however you like, from papers to authors to graphs. And you can also follow the breadcrumbs to remember how you got to where you are and quickly go back to where you started. The next amazing thing about Research Rabbit is our positive feedback loop, or what we call our Spotify for papers. As you can see here, the numbers will update as you add papers into your collection. Research Rabbit is learning what you're interested in and generating better and better results in real time. Our relevancy increases as you use the app, whereas Google relevancy decreases over time. Finally, based on the items in your collection, Research Rabbit keeps track of all of the new papers that are published. And if and only if Research Rabbit thinks something is super relevant, we'll go ahead and email you on a Sunday night. We don't spam you with noisy alerts based on keywords. There's a lot more features and capabilities here, but these are some key value props that set us apart from every other discovery tool out there. Our platform is purpose-built for identifying key knowledge content and experts, and we're excited to serve researchers around the world. Thanks.
All right. So we'll have some time during our breakout for if you want to experiment with this in a little bit more depth than you can. But as you can see, I mean, this is a whole new category of research tools that are driven by AI. And as you can see, this type of tool allows you to not only, I'll stop sharing for now, allows you to not only sort of do the traditional search for like keywords or a title of a page, but when you just start with one article, if you have an article that you love, that you thought, okay, this is exactly what you can find additional articles similar to that, or you can start with an author and you can expand that out. And then as you do that, you accumulate sort of your library of libraries of things that are related to that topic. So let me see. So any questions about Research Rabbit for now, like before we move on to the next tool? There's two more tools related to research literature review. So I want to make sure we don't kind of mix them all up. So any specific questions about Research Rabbit at this point? Yes, Lynn.
Sorry, I just have a quick comment. And it has to do with a number of different things. These kinds of tools assume that we have specific keywords, obviously, that we're looking for, a specific area of topic. And the issue is that it can become extremely narrow. So in terms of some of the issues in terms of expanding are things like, we forget that if we go to a journal in a library and pull something that we've never looked at before, it might spark some things in our brain, which it has done for me and others, in terms of what some relationships might be that we never thought about. And we wouldn't have thought to put those keywords in because we didn't even think about them being related to something that we were potentially going to look at. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind as we're looking at these tools, I guess, is because it can narrow us so much that we don't innovate in the sense of, anyway, just a comment.
That same comment about falling asleep at the wheel. Yeah, don't leave your human intuition out of the process and just rely on this. Yeah, very, very good point.
It's mostly that I decided at some point in time that I had a instead of doing some of these things, but having students actually go to the library and pull a journal that they would never have looked at otherwise. To just again to see, like, discover or something. I mean, whatever, but something that would connect things for them that they may never have thought about.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment or a question about Research Rabbit?
I think for me, I just want to learn how to use the filtering properly. Just from looking at it for the first time, is trying to figure out like what their methods are. Do they have more videos of like how to use it properly?
Yes. Yeah. So they're actually their help. They have a help section, or what do you call it? Help, the FAQs and community videos. Yeah, I'd say their guides are pretty extensive. So you can, if you need to learn more about specific features, you can. Like when you log on the right side, there's like a little icon. Do you see help? If you click on that, it gives you FAQs and community videos and so on. So, but yeah, okay.
Got it. Yeah, I found it. It already tried to open a video for me, so sorry.
Okay, it's okay. All right, so that's sort of the one tool to kind of begin that process of literature review. Let me now share with you another tool that does something similar, but it's a different angle, I guess, of how you do this kind of literature review. So let me go ahead and share that screen. Oh, I need to go. It's always funky because I have a limited screen space. Okay. So you hopefully can see it's called Elicit, and this is a different. It's another tool for literature review, but it works differently. And I'll explain a little more after we watch this video.
Elicit is a lovely AI tool for researchers where you can ask your research questions and Illicit will find your answers from millions of research papers. So let's look at an example of a research question. Now, I've previously searched for what is the relationship between exercise and anxiety, or physical activity and anxiety, and it gave a whole bunch of articles, and it gave an abstract summary here on the side. Let's go through them. Testing causality and the association between regular exercise and symptoms of anxiety and depression. Very relevant. And here's the abstract summary on the side. Regular exercise is associated with reduced anxious and depressive symptoms. And again, this is an AI tool. I would definitely go and read the article yourself. Go and analyze the results, or look carefully at the results and see what it finds. But this is definitely helpful. Exercise training may be clinically effective. Let's click on one of them. Here we have a article, information, DOI. It's even linked with Semantic Scholar. What outcomes did they measure? This is also very helpful. You can go and view the source inside the article. Possible critiques. This is very interesting. Menas critiques this paper, Straw, by saying, Straw 2009 found that there were many methodological limitations in the published studies. Drill et al. Critique this paper, Straw, by saying. So this is also nice to analyze and just to get a bit more insight into what's going on with the paper. Other citations. This is so interesting. So the paper is Straw, and here you can see even other people who cited this paper. So it just gives you a bit more insight into the paper and what was said about the contents of the paper in other studies. Now here we have the abstract, and here we can ask a question about this paper. What were the limitations of this study? Let's check what it gives us. And there was nothing mentioned. And you can ask a follow-up question. And of course, you can spend some more time on it. Now, you don't have to find an article on the web. You can also upload a specific article, and it can, let's do this, upload a PDF. Let's see what it gives us. If we upload analyzed papers, here we have the abstract summary. We click here, it will produce the intervention, and you can choose which of these you would like to add here. Abstract summary, number of participants, interventions, outcome measures used. It's going to struggle with intervention and outcome measures because it is a systematic review, and I think it's also confused and can't find the number of participants because of it being a systematic review. Let's open it up, see what it provides. Again, adult cricket fast bowlers. That's good. Let's pick up quite of the more important information. So this is quite lovely. We looked at
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry, sorry about that. So I'm going to sort of try to compare the two. So Research Rabbit is more of a traditional search for papers related to your topic, whereas Research Rabbit goes a little bit step further you can do the same kind of search for the topic, but what it now does is with each paper, it can actually it'll break down the parts of the study for you. And if the metadata is there, it will actually surface like what the video was trying to demonstrate. It will not only show you what the abstract of the paper was, but if you want to, let's say if you have 5 or 10 papers on a topic, it will even give you, like, if they all have sort of information about like the research design or methodology, you can actually, it will list those for you. And then one other thing it does, I think fairly well listed, is you can now ask questions against a group of papers you've found, as opposed to kind of dealing with one paper at a time. Like, as you build your literature review for your study, you can now use this as a way to kind of ask questions against those set of papers. Which is something that you can't really do in Research Rabbit. Research Rabbit was more just surfacing those papers, and it then can put it into Elicit, and then in Elicit you can kind of now manage your all your articles, and really it will do a really nice summary too. Let's say if you upload 10 articles on a particular topic, it will go through those 10 articles and it will write a summary of all, like, what's the common themes, or what's the relationships between all those articles. So again, it's just, I mean, back in the day, literature review, I think many of us remember, it was tedious. Like, you read one article and you have to highlight and you have to write out all these, make your own little tables, but now all this is digitized and in many ways automated, and so it really does make a big difference in terms of the process and the speed in which you do it. So any comments or questions? Let me see, I see Janet. Can the literature AI tool gain access to non-open access articles that require membership or payment? That's a good question, Janet. So what Research Rabbit and Elicit tools do is they go, their data comes from semantic research. So Semantic Scholar. Let me kind of put that in the link here in the chat. So Semantic Scholar is I lost my chat. Okay, there. So Semantic Scholar is a research portal. It has 214 million papers. But yeah, a lot of probably the paid stuff may not be here. It may not. I don't know how they put together their corpus. But I'd say it's fairly, 214 million is quite a bit. And so it will probably capture a lot of the articles, but may not be all the articles. And so if you go to some of the more paid, like, things behind the paid wall, then, you may start there first, and then whatever you can, if you want to do additional work, then this might be the place. But Semantic Scholar is an AI-driven research article database. So a lot, the difference between this and, let's say, something else like PubMed or whatever, they're not going to be as extensive in their metadata, the data behind it. So what they do with Semantic Scholar is every article is parsed out to have all that data points, so that when you use tools like Research Rabbit or Elicit, it's able to kind of search through the article in a way that you may not be able to do in a traditional database. And so that's the difference. However, you can always bring in articles. So if you find an article in a I don't know, in a research database that's paid, that you can't access it any other way, you can, if you can download that, and you can then use that and upload it to either Research Rabbit or Elicit, and then you can then essentially bring that into your workflow as you do that. So hopefully that answers your question. Yes, Janet, you have a follow-up question? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, that leads me to the next question is, if we paid for the article, but in the copyright, it says that only we can use it, we can't really share it out, because then the next person would need to pay or be a member of. So if we upload it into something like these AI tools, aren't we violating copyright?
No, so when you upload something, it's only in your own library. It's not going to go to the body, the corpus of the, so you will have your own research dashboard or your research library. So as you upload things, it stays only in your account. It's not going
Okay.
to go into the larger database.
So if we uploaded an article, a paid article that's intellectual property to the chat, into the language models, is that violation of copyright? Because it does go in their database?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. Yes and no. If you turn off I guess this is only a paid version on the paid like GPT or Claude 2, you can turn off whatever you query through your prompts or anything you upload from adding it to the training model. But if you're using the free, then I think it's automatically absorbed into it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Lynn, I'm gonna get to you, but let me see if there's any. I thought I saw another question. Okay, no, sorry. Go ahead, Lynn.
Sorry, quickly, I just wanted to share, a colleague sent this to me. Anyway, I can't share it, but, so the title is, just information. Authors whose pirated books are powering generative AI. So there's a large article on that, which was published about 2 weeks ago. Anyway, just information, there's several lawsuits related just because copyright was brought up, so.
Yeah. So
What was
yeah,
the
so
name
this, if you can add the article link, Lynn,
I'll add it to the chat. I'll add the link to the chat.
that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. So see, I see Lisa has a question about if there's a citation tool. Yeah. So I know that Elicit connects with I want to say, gosh, I was just working on this last night and I saw it. It works with Zotero for sure. And I'm sure if you know most of these, like I said, because they're using the Semantic Scholar, it will have sort of the BibTeX or some of the what's the there's different citation kind of the BibTeX ML like whatever. Yeah, it works with EndNote. Okay, I just double checked this. It works with EndNote, but you can always export the BibTeX metadata and then import that into whatever citation management tool you're using, whether it's EndNote or Zotero or whatever. So, but yes, these tools I think will interact well with each other. All right, so let me now go one more slide. Oh, oops. We're actually gonna run up towards the 11 o'clock time, but okay, so let's all right, so this is something that we have already touched on in the previous session, so it's not going to be, I'm not going to be late at the point, but so we use Elicit or Research Rabbit to find the article, to do some sort of preliminary literature review of those articles. If you want to dive deeper into a specific article or a few articles, then you can use something like Claude. Now, again, this is something that we covered in the past, but the idea is as you upload these articles, you can then use it as a way to kind of ask questions against it. Let's say you're trying to test your theory on, you went on you have a hypothesis and you want to see how that hypothesis is evaluated. How does these papers, what would their take on, whether it confirms or it sort of or not your hypothesis? You can use that kind of Claude or ChatGPT to do that kind of work. However, again, it goes back to that point about if you don't have a paid version, the uploading a article that may be that's like a closed article that there might be some ethical issues with intellectual property. But again, this is just a suggestion. There are other tools that are out there that allows you to do similar things besides sort of the Claude or ChatGPT. But those tools are, I'd say, not as they're one-off kind of tools, meaning they only do one thing and it may or may not be as helpful. Whereas Claude, you can, once you upload your articles, you can have like 5 or 10, you can have up to like 10 megabytes or I think, 10 megabytes of files. And you can then basically use it as a way to, as you're writing your literature review, you can ask questions against it and it will help you sort of generate that kind of work. So I was, Lynn, I don't know if you want to share some of the things that we were working on yesterday with how you're, for your discussion using Claude. Did you want to share that? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, that's okay. So just quickly, I've been trying to get the discussion part of this article written forever. And I have what I call takes time for induction time because I have to leave it because of workload, and we all understand all of those things. So anyway, I'd asked Michael for some help about, is there a way that it's an article that I have written. So I uploaded it in Claude, and I asked just to kind of get me started again and thinking about the whole article, what kinds of points I should address. I'd already written some should address in the discussion given the content of the article. So,
Yeah.
and that was helpful to kind of get me kind of, oh yeah, right. So, go back and read it and go back and look at the data again, because it's an article, it's from a research study. So that it was helpful. Yeah.
So that's another use, is that you can use Claude to actually help write your own paper. As you say, you've written 3/4 of it and you're like just stuck, like, oh, what else can I say about this? You can then basically ask Claude to review your paper and suggest gaps of how you can add to the discussion or whatever parts that you're working on. So it's a very, very useful tool in that respect. So, all right. So I'm going to keep, yes, Janet.
I'll be quick, but it's really relevant to what you're just saying, is that if we're using a tool like Claude to develop our own research paper, and then we go to publish it, I've heard that you can be violating, you can be plagiarizing yourself, because once you've uploaded into Claude, it becomes part of the database, and then it will be found as part of the Claude content, and you have a problem then with your ability to publish.
Again, this is where it's in the fuzzy, if you have the paid version, you can turn off that option of it getting trained on things you submit. But if you're using the free, that could be a potential problem. So it's just something to be aware of. So, okay. So I'm going to keep moving because we're down the last 10 minutes, and then I'm going to give us time to do the breakout. So we talked about literature review as sort of the set of tools to do that kind of process. So the next area of research is data collection and data analysis. And again, we're probably not going to have the time to actually go through all the tools in depth. And so really, it's going to be a flyover of these tools, and then you can explore them on your own time. So data analysis is something that GPT or ChatGPT or any of the tools at Claude, it does very well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick demo of how this works. So I'm going to share, let me see here. I'm going to share my, oops. Let's see if I can find a, okay, so I'm going to set up my GPT session, and then I'm going to set up my data, and then I'm going to kind of show you how it's just pretty amazing stuff, how we can go about doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my entire screen so you can see sort of both my data set and also my my ChatGPT session. All right, so are you able to see my entire screen now? Oops, okay. Let me kind of move this out of the way. All right. So on the left-hand side is my ChatGPT session, and on the right side is just a data set I found. I mean, if you want to kind of play around with data sets, there's a great site called Kaggle, K-A, oops, K. Why am I not able to type here? No, oh, because I'm on. Okay, so it's called Kaggle, Kaggle. And if you go there, there's like gazillion data sets. These are free, these are open kind of access. You can just export whatever you want. So I went in and I looked up some education data. I just typed in education, and then they gave me like, I think I just picked up the first one, which is basic education statistics. And this is what I downloaded. The actual file was like over 1,000 entries. And so I'm not gonna, it was just too much. And I just thought, you know what, just for our demonstration purposes, I just cut it down to like 100. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight the data set. And this is probably going to be common to many of you as you do your data in the collection, something like this. And all you do is then paste that into ChatGPT. But I'm going to do a prompt first and say, what is the following data set about? That's, let's say I don't even have to, understand what data set is. And what it's going to do is it's going to process that data set, and it's going to come back and it's going to explain to me what data set is about. Do you see that? So this data set appears to be related to student performance in various subjects, including all these things. And it's like, oh, okay, so it's interesting. It's telling me that there's these different data columns. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, can it tell me the correlation between gender and math score? I'm just going to. And so it's going to go through that. It says determine correlation between gender. So it actually will then explain to you which statistical analysis tool to use. In this case, it actually gives you the Python code to how to do that. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Or the other thing you can do is what are some of the what was it I was thinking about yesterday? What are some of the potential areas for studies based on this data set? And then I think it, so again, it gives you a potential of different studies you can develop using this data set. Gender-based academic performance analysis, ethnicity, race, academic achievement, parental education, student performance. That's a very common one, and so on and so forth. So again, I'm just gonna stop there. I mean, you can see how amazing just having data and then using it to basically not only analyze data, but now it helps you guide your research. So if you have, like, if I wanted to, let's say if I had a hypothesis, initial hypothesis of the study, I can actually ask that against this data set. And it will then start to kind of give me some preliminary ideas of like whether or not I'm what's affirming or not. So so I see here it's a question. Does GPT help with coding process? It can. It will, if you can just use natural language, ask like, I would like a code on this, on doing a double, I can't remember all my statistic terms, double-headed whatever analysis. It will actually write those code, or if so there are different statistical analysis tools out there, and you just ask it what tools you're using, and then it will kind of give you some clues on how to use that. So it's very, very useful.
Can I just
Yeah,
ask,
yeah.
Lisa, are you talking about a code book related to the instruments that are used, or are you talking about a code book some other way?
I mean, I'm currently using NVivo, but at times it's a little frustrating. So I'm wondering how I can use NVivo in correlation with ChatGPT to streamline the process.
You're using for qualitative data,
yes, for qualitative.
Yeah. So I would again, this does very well with unstructured data. So if you have your, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 comments or from your transcripts or whatever data set you have, it will actually be able to do a lot of, like, you can actually just copy and paste that in or have that on the PDF and ask questions like, what are some trends you see based on this data? Or what are the key findings? It will do that pretty, like a preliminary level. I mean, NVivo is definitely a more robust tool, and you can kind of dive deeper into specific words and phrases. But this gives you a very basic overview, and then you can then maybe use a tool like NVivo or other qualitative research tools to then dig deeper. So that's just one example of how you can sort of process data. But we can also talk about data collection. So data collection is something that, like whether it's, the statistical collections oftentimes are done through, forms and surveys and so, but the unstructured collection of data, like a lot of it is interviews. You can actually use tools. Here, let me go back to my, this is going. All right, so I'm just gonna, it's not gonna look pretty, but it's at least, I don't have to keep switching too much. You can use tools like, this tool is called TLDV, Too Long Didn't View, which is funny. TLDV.io is a tool. It's like Zoom. You can use it for meetings. It's really, it's meant like the primary purpose is to record meetings. But what it does is after you finish recording, it will analyze what's been discussed. Let's say you are doing an interview with your informants, and you're just recording. And sometimes you're trying to, like, after you have to record it, you have to transcribe it, you then have to do the analysis of it. I mean, there's so many steps involved in sort of qualitative interviews. With this tool, it will take probably the first 3 or 4 steps, like it will automate the first 3 or 4 steps for you. Because just by recording your interview session, it will not only have that, it will digitize it into a transcript, and then it will start to analyze the content. You can, again, it will give you a summary of, like, if you have 2 or 3 speakers, it will summarize what each person said. And then on top of that, you can then start asking questions the same way that you can use Claude to ask questions against an article. You can now ask questions against the videos. Like, basically it's using the article, the transcription, to then do the same. I mean, so it's nothing fancy, but it is something that is a neat tool. I believe that the free version is limited, so it's like 30 minutes or something like that. So it may not be helpful, but if you want to use this for longer kind of interview work, then you might have to pay for it. Another tool is called Otter. You probably have heard of this one as well. Otter is again, it's often used for recording meetings, but it does a very similar job as the last tool that Too Long Didn't View. This Otter is, I think, a little more robust, and it's been out longer, so it's been out for a couple of years now. And it does the similar thing where it will record the meeting, but it will also transcribe it, and it also will do summaries and highlights and things like that. So these are just 2 tools, 2 of many that are out there you can use to do collection of qualitative data. So yes, Lynn, as long as you pair it, like, you have to sign up for an account, and then you basically invite. Well, yeah, I see on this session, Cheryl has an Otter. I don't know if you noticed on our participant view, Cheryl's Otter pilot is on as part of this group, meaning we could have actually added Otter or added the TLDV as part. It will just participate as one of the participant, and then it will record the session, and afterwards it will do the analysis of it. So, all right, and then just in terms of research writing, again, this is things that we've covered in past sessions, but just a reminder, once you have your literature review and your data collection and your data analysis, then the research writing process, you can then use these tools to help you fine tune. You can use it to provide general outline. You can use it to fine tune your writing. You can use it for the editing process and so on. So very, very like from nuts to soups to nuts. Is that the term? Nuts to soups. The whole research process can be done using AI tools. So, sorry for the rushed last 5 minutes, but let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back, and then we'll do small groups, and then you can hopefully start to experiment with some of these tools. So we'll come back at 11:07. 11:07. So let me add this to, we'll be back, put this in the everyone. Hey, Janet, are you in Texas right now? Hope you're muted.
Yes, I am.
Which part of Texas are you in?
Sorry, I'm in the metropolitan Dallas, Texas area,
Okay.
greater metropolitan area.
Okay.
And I'm at University of North Texas, Dallas.
Okay.
And it's a startup campus off of the main one that was in, that still is in Denton.
Hmm.
And so it's been here about 10, 13 years, and they have like 260 acres, and they've only developed 5. But there's
wow.
all this plan for more and more buildings are popping up. And so it's kind of cool because it's like being at a small, you know, it's in a small environment. We've got all brand new everything. And then we get to develop everything. So we're going to be, you know, writing our own superintendent's program and our ed leadership doctoral, you know, EDD program. And so it's just kind of, and it's got the Southern hospitality perspective on the culture. So have you ever been in that environment?
Yes, I've been to Texas a couple of times. I've been to Louisiana. Yes, I understand what you mean by the Southern
Yeah.
hospitality.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, very warm. It's
Oh,
around
yeah.
food.
And you know, they call you ma'am everywhere you
Yes.
go, and they notice you, you know, it's like in
Yes.
in a larger metropolitan, like it's not as big as
Okay, so I think we were having so much fun, we totally forgot it was 11:30.
We were having a party in our breakout room.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. I think, let's see, do I have any more additional slides of information? Okay. Yeah, the last slide is just some tools. So in addition to what we shared, there are also additional tools that you'll find on the slides as well as on our website. Now, I'll also link this out in our follow-up email. But I hope today's session was helpful in really transforming our thinking about the research process, everything from literature review to data collection analysis to now actually doing the writing the paper. And as you learn these things, hopefully you share with your colleagues, with your departments. And then, you know, I was just thinking, you know, there's a faculty research council that exists at APU. I mean, that I think, I don't know, anybody part of that group, you know, that would be a good group to kind of share some of this information with, because I think that would be helpful. So in any case, so I will end there officially. I'm gonna stop the recording, and then if you have any additional questions,